So greetings and welcome to our educational program today, Quality 4.0. Don't feel overwhelmed, feel motivated by John Cachet. This is your moderator, Doug Wood, with ASQ's Quality Management Division. So today we have the distinct pleasure of hearing from John Cachet. Please join me in welcoming him. So John is a visionary and an expert in developing innovative information technology approaches for large and small organizations. And he's known for helping people improve processes with software. Mr. Cachet specializes in strategies to integrate ERP, PLM, MES, and QMS technologies. There's your alphabet soup, John. John received a BSIE degree at the General Motors Institute, GMI. John also holds an MSIE degree from Texas A&M University, specializing in automated manufacturing. In addition, he's past chairman of the local ASQ chapter, and he led the ASQ Quality Management Division Technical Committee on Quality Information Systems. He's currently a member of the ASQ Quality 4.0 Technical Group. And so without further ado, it is my pleasure to introduce John Cachet. John, the floor is yours.
Thanks, Doug. This is a really fun conversation. I've had it with a couple of the other ASQ chapters, and the purpose of today is to educate and hopefully motivate a little bit around this 4.0 subject. And the presentation is a little different from what you might be used to. So let's just start with some background or formatting for it. The reason this should be important to you is because it's important to the executives in your company. The number one reason or risk that they're looking at, the biggest impact, is this rise of disruptive technologies. I mean, more than inflation, more than geopolitical risk, more than staffing. This stuff's coming on, and I think in a lot of cases, people feel overwhelmed, but we don't have to. Now, for each of the people listening today, it's important when you're having this conversation within your organization that you understand where your company sits on what's referred to as the technology adoption curve. And here's why it's important. I've had a lot of conversations with very frustrated quality professionals that, management doesn't care, they're not interested, they don't do it. And when I talk about, well, forget about the quality subject, are they early adopters of all sorts of new stuff? I mean, were they first ones that put in CMMs, the first ones that put in camera systems? Oh, no, we're very late. And again, I want you to be aware of this. I still don't want you to get frustrated, because if you understand the culture you're in regarding technology optimization, it kind of is what it is. So still be a tech enthusiast, still be a visionary, but just be aware that your frustration might be coming from the company culture more than just the individual you're talking to. Now, let me share two stories with you. This is from when I was a co-op student in a press metal plant with General Motors. And this has to do a little bit with early adopters. The plant I was in was the first GM stamp facility that put in a robotic welding line. At the time, I was a maintenance supervisor. So we were installing the equipment. And it was just taking longer, it was getting delayed. I mean, it just wasn't, the installation was just not working well. So again, being pretty young and maybe naive, I just went over to the maintenance guys and I said, hey, what's taking so long? Their answer, we don't want it to work. Oh, okay, all right. We're throwing some technology at some people that aren't necessarily wanted. That's good to know. The second one up here is we were also the first plant to put 100% inline inspection to our truck floor panels is the line we use. And again, really cool, really early adopters, really, out in front. And what we found is that they turned off the 100% inspection system. And they turned it off because it was shutting the line down. It was rejecting everything. And instead of talking to the people about the process and what they're doing, management said, well, I know how we're going to fix that. We're going to put a traffic light, a flashing one. So if this system's ever turned off, it's going to flash a red traffic light. Well, guess what the people did? The people went over and grabbed a box that was full of nuts they were welding on the floor panel and put it on top of the red flasher and turned it off. So it's really, really important about why people matter. Technology by itself isn't going to get us there. Now, some bad news for the quality professionals. In my opinion, and other people, the traditional quality philosophies have plateaued, stagnated. Almost people get irritated about it. Whether it's Six Sigma or everybody's seen on TV all the airplane issues, or it's just old stuff. I mean, bringing that to the organization as the innovative, early adopter, great stuff that's been around for decades. Now, the good news is quality professionals have knowledge and data than a lot of people in the company. I mean, insights about how processes and products work. I mean, these are just some made up slides, but if I could see, I would say, not engineering changes. Program B and program A is blue, program B is red. If you looked at that based on your experience, now the subject is how do we increase profit on new products? If you looked at those two, you'd say, well, of course, program A is going to have less costs. We took of all the changes, out of the design phase. Another one, again, we want to increase profit on new products. Program A, again, in blue, program B in red. Which one is going to have more problems? Well, your experience probably says the red guy. We dropped a bunch of suppliers we knew. We added a bunch of new ones. We messed with the supply chain. Now, part of what Quality 4.0 gives us the opportunity to do is, again, you can look at those and say, John, of course, we know that, but it takes me 5 days to get the information out of PLM that has all the engineering changes in it and try to look at this, and then out of purchasing, it just takes so long. The way that you can think about software technology for quality professionals, and I was talking to Doug about this before, it's not just changing, it's almost changing weekly about new ideas and new things coming through. So the other thing I wanted to put in context was, well, how do we get to 4.0? And, there was hopefully this is done in your company, there was a modernization phase, just updating old, outdated systems, getting rid of that green screen AS400 system that you've been using for 30 years. And, if we update things, we look at it, then there's optimization. Just making the processes more efficient or effective without making a bunch of changes. And then transformation is fundamentally changing how we operate. Now, the other diagram up here on the slide, this deep learning neural networks, machine learning, this is all interesting technical stuff, but I don't think quality professionals have to be experts in neural networks or deep learning. I'd like you to understand some of the terms so you're familiar with them and you can talk about it. But that's like saying to, let's see, we just bought a 5-axis machining center. And the operator cares about how I can do 4 operations now without changing the fixture. That's cool. That's what they want to learn about. He doesn't have to know that it's running on a Motorola 68,000 processor, and I mean, all the technical stuff does not matter to him. So in that, we talk a little bit about it. Artificial intelligence. What's artificial intelligence? Well, that's automating real intelligence. Now, who has real intelligence in the quality space? Well, quality professionals do. And that's why I think there's a lot of opportunity here for us to not just get a seat at the table, but to be on the agenda and talk about it. Not sure if you saw this, but I mean, this is again a nationwide effort trying to figure out what's this doing, what's going on, how we're going to impact, what's this going to do. So here's one action item for the people on the call today. You know, I asked ChatGPT, will AI-based quality assurance make the quality engineer obsolete? And without reading all the context on it, here's my answer. AI is not going to take your job. However, people using AI might, and that's a big difference. So I'm encouraging, the action item is, if you haven't used ChatGPT or any of the competitors, it doesn't matter which one you take, you really should try it out tonight or tomorrow. You need to understand what this kind of technology does, especially if there's anybody on the call that is supposed to write job descriptions or procedures or processes. You'll be flabbergasted by, if you type in, please write me a standard operating system, actually done for change management or for engineering changes or for calibration or for, I mean, anything. I think you'll be pleasantly surprised. So for the knowledge workers, the jobs are going to change, but they're not going to go away. Now, this one, I got to admit, I was kind of shocked. You know, list of corporate AI implementations report. The reason I'm shocked is quality made the list. I mean, quality is never on the list of these kind of things. But manufacturing and production top, you know, better efficiency, better operational efficiency. Quality made it. And then, you know, the other things, quality impacts. We impact product design. We impact supply chain, equipment maintenance, R&D. So again, I just want to give you some idea about how real this opportunity is for everybody on today's call. All right, let's talk about another one, big data. You know, how do these people think? And I say these people, data architects, data scientists. The classic model is the diagram on the right, says you got to get a bunch of data, you got to prepare it and organize it, then you got to visualize it, then you can do your analysis, and then probably the most important part, tell your story. Now, personally, I would encourage you to organize the story you want to tell first, and then start figuring out, you know, what data do I have and how do I prepare it. The image on the left, my daughter is a marketing data scientist in retail. And she sent this picture of how she was teaching one of her sons how to organize his candy so he can negotiate more effectively with his little brother. So this is stuff that once you learn it, it really applies everywhere. Now, the other thing that's really important to understand are the trends in data availability and the costs. You know, the War of the World came out in 73, buy the tapes, 120 bucks. DVDs come out 15 years later, 60 bucks. All right, Blu-ray, whatever, came out 40. But what's today? Today is free in 4K on YouTube. Why is this important on Quality 4.0? Because in your mind, if you're constrained by oh, it's too much data, or we can't get access to it, or it's controlled over there, or it's going to cost too much. A lot of those have disappeared with what the current technology can do. Predictive analytics, another term you're going to hear. Basically, well, this is the most common one people explain it with. On Amazon, when you're buying something and it comes up and says, hey, other people bought this similar thing. It's a way to start using this data mining and make predictions about the future. So forget Amazon, let's put it into quality. Um, I'm doing a process failure mode and effect analysis. And I type in occurrence or severity or some number or something or a control plan. And the system comes up and says, hey, based on historical data, this approach has a higher probability than you thought. Or, hey, other people have tried this. So it's really a way to start thinking about what's going on. So the focus that I think you personally and the organization has to do, and remember the robotic welding and in process inspection, people come first, then look at the process, and then look at the technology. So in that order, it's really important. If you start with technology and start driving it to figure out what process to apply it, your people aren't gonna do it. So the idea is, how can I expand the range of data that's available to informed users? Democratization is a term you'll hear. And again, starting to think about, well, I don't know that. I have to call Doug because he has that. All right, that people, and by the way, some of it is siloed by people important. That's a whole nother story. But sharing the communications, process it, and quickly translate it. That's what we're trying to do with 4.0. So based on quality professionals' knowledge and understanding of cause and effect relationships between what makes new product launches more profitable, the impact of engineering changes, the impact of changing suppliers, it's bright if we are willing to learn new things. And as I had the one deck, unlearn old truths. It might not be the way that we thought it was 20 or 30 years ago. And when I say fully understand the impact of new technology, I'm talking about the impact on you personally and the company, not the technology detail. I don't care if it's blockchain or if it's this or that, it doesn't matter. And, like most anything that we got to be flexible and agile. So, I'm in favor of progress. It's change I don't like. I hear that all the time, and I want to put it in context. How would you react if all the cell phones stopped working? I mean, people would freak out. And actually, there was a downtime. I don't remember if it was in Ohio or whatever, but or AT&T went out for a little bit, and yeah, people were freaking out. So the point of this slide is people don't like change that doesn't impact them positively. And by the way, if you throw in robotic welding and not tell them what you're doing or why, or throw in 100% inspection and not tell them why, they're not going to like it. So my point is, everyone will take change if it benefits them. These are some key slides that I extracted from the Quality 4.0 Summit. And again, found it interesting, challenges faced by organizations with respect to the workforce. So, it's still a culturally sensitive issue that goes back to your technology implementation curve. And, is quality something that's done to pass the test and get registered, or is it improvement? That, again, those are whole nother subjects. But properly using the technology is after you've talked to the people about their process. And a couple slides out with the future of the workforce. This one I found very interesting. And the point on the slide on the left, the future of the workforce, was technology can change exponentially, meaning that some of the material I use for the next time I present this 2 weeks from now could have changed. But human adaptation is linear. And again, that's why the process or people and process is so critical before we just throw technology at them. It'll freak them out. So the idea of digitization, automation, connectivity, all these things, it's got to be human oriented. It's got to be based on the people. So another question I get is, so do we have to change our job descriptions? And maybe, the idea that the ability to learn and adapt is very important. Adapt skills to new contexts, expertise. By the way, the daughter I mentioned that's in retail, the CEO of their company told her staff, her group, hey, if you got to use ChatGPT to get this stuff done better, he didn't say faster, he said better. He goes, use it. So again, where my daughter was she's hanging out with technical people. My other son's a data architect. She felt resistance in telling them. By the way, she's been using it for a year. They don't know it, but she has been. So the whole thing on this is, what will change if we do use the tools to automate routine processes? The things you do every end of the month, every end of the week, all the things, I mean, here's one for you. I was making aircraft landing gear, and we had some very expensive, very talented engineers that wrote the same disposition on 300 tags, I mean, over and over and over. So the idea is there a way for us to automate this really labor intensive stuff and free up, this is where it doesn't take your job, free up the people to actually do things that the computer can't do. So human factor is critical. Again, people, process, technology, in that order. The technologies and surfaces have to be carefully selected. I'm a big fan, and by the way, this is not how I thought when I was younger, but I do now. Baby steps, small increments. Just try it over in this one little area, see what happens. And technology mandates by IT without involving people in the process fail, period. That's in bold, it's in red. I have not seen one anywhere in my career where IT said, hey, we bought this new thing and we want you all to work. Now they said, well, John, it didn't fail. It just took 4 years longer and cost 10 times as much. So, well, I consider that a failure. Cost to quality models. This is a really fun subject. I actually have a white paper on it that I'd be happy to send you as well. But instead of talking all the theoretical stuff, what if we had this, and again, you call it a data warehouse, a data lake, a data fabric, and the detailed technical terms aren't that thing, but do this in your mind. Think about how you would put together a quality cost system if you had instant access to all the data you needed. And by the way, that's kind of doable right now. So, well, we can't get that. It's an SAP. We can't get that. It's in the CMM. We can't get that. Yeah, you can. And, what if you were able to get actual cost? Let's just start with the plant. You're a bigger company, you got multiple plants by plant, or maybe by program. What about the part number level? All this stuff that was theory is now reality. From a technical standpoint, we still need quality professionals, people that understand the cause and effect of the process to make the technology work. But it's a fun area. To give you an example of something that I've been working on, and I'm just going down a level into a very specific process. For those of you who are not familiar with PPAP, it's an acronym that stands for the Production Part Approval Process. Long story short, it basically says this is how we're going to make it. These are our risks. This is how we're going to control the risk and assortment around it. Started by automotive, adopted by aerospace, adopted by wind energy, slowly getting adopted by medical device. It's a good process. So 1.0 is we've got a bunch of binders and we got a manual. 85, maybe a little higher, 85% of the people doing this in companies are doing it in Excel. So the first baby step is, well, let's go to 2.0. Let's put it into a relational database. We can get more security. We can, I mean, all the good stuff about that. And again, good step. 3.0 is all right. Now we got to expand it a little bit. The IT guys want single sign-on. They want integration with ERP and the engineering tools. We want some analytics, maybe some quality cost analytics. And then once we have this enterprise structure, yeah, let's talk 4.0. Let's talk about machine learning, deep learning, and predictive analytics and all that stuff. The reason this slide's important is, surprisingly, I'm in a number of conversations with people about 4.0 that are at 1.0. And I try to convince them going from 1 to 4 is not going to be easy. It's definitely not going to be easy on the people. And it probably will fail because you don't really understand the process. So again, baby steps. And just talk a little bit more about it. An aircraft engine has about 30,000 manufactured parts on it, coming from about 3,000 suppliers. All this stuff in spreadsheets is 9 billion lines of data records. And you know, everybody wants us to reduce defects and all this good stuff, but we have no clue. I don't know if it's working. I don't know. So what we want to try to do in the 4.0 mentality, and this is just on the subject of PPAP, is there a better way to put our data to work? So my suggestion is yes, let's get it out of spreadsheets 1.0 and put it into a database 2.0. But what kind of analytics could we do? Well, this is exciting because I spent 3 years with a group of volunteers in the automotive industry going through this process with them. And they say, well, you know, what can we, you know, reducing occurrence? We didn't think it was going to happen, and apparently it's happening all the time. You know, same thing with detection. Geez, we thought that thing we put in was great, but the complaints are coming from our customers or the field. Or severity. You know, I didn't think it'd be that bad, but it's a lot less. So the ability to start now getting, and oh, by the way, you know, the way you train AI is people train them and people do it just like hiring people. But once we connect this whole process to cost, to failure cost, then the whole world starts lightening up. It happened more than we thought. It cost more than we thought. Have we seen this before? Do we know what it costs? Can we error proof it? I mean, all these things that most quality professionals I work with, they're thinking about it. It's in their head. They care about it. But John, I've got, you know, 500 spreadsheets in SharePoint and, you know, 30 different, I can't do any of this. That's why you got to take baby steps. Prototypes are underway. I mentioned briefly that my son's a data architect. He connected these data sets to a AI tool. It took him about 4 hours. And when I say an AI tool, one of the biggest things that's coming out of AI is what's referred to as natural language processors. That's how I can talk to my phone. That's how I can talk to Alexa. That's how I can talk to Google. By the way, if any of you are still typing Google searches, stop. Click on the mic icon and just talk to it. So if you're thinking about where are we going with this, think about talking to your computer. If there's any Star Trek people on the call, you know, the ability to say, run a level 3 diagnostic of this machine. You know, show me where this came from. This is where it really starts to get interesting. So again, the evolution, all those acronyms that I referred to, you know, the ERP, accounting and inventory and planning systems, the PLM, the engineering systems. By the way, all the CRM, the customer relationship, supplier relationship management. And I don't have it on the diagram, but with AI and with these tools, that can also include essentially the internet. If you want to know what people are talking about on the internet, we can throw that into the app. And then the MES systems, the people on the floor doing it. So, you know, go from manual and spreadsheets, get to an enterprise quality system, connect the tools, get the visibility to see what's happening in real time. And again, transparency drives understanding. That's why I think it was very important about the term democratization of data. The days of, accounting has that, nobody else has it. Well, what was the scrap on that? I don't know, you got to ask accounting. Well, if people are thinking it in the way of trying to do their job and trying to get things done, you know, and I know there's data governance things about security and all that. I mean, I understand, but in general, if it's there and I need it, I should have access to it. Uh, so, you know, takeaways. The founding techniques and paradigms that we've been living out for a while uh, are not really up to the task of doing what's going on in Quality 4.0. I mean, it is what it is. The history is great, but we need to go. And to successfully deploy it, you're going to be competitively positioned. I mean, remember what the CEO's concern was on that first slide is disruptive technology. And I was on a webinar this morning I was listening to, studied by analysts. And again, they said the biggest thing we're trying to do is better performance, better industrial performance, better manufacturing is what they specifically said. So what should you do with this information? There's always, I mean, kind of like we are quality professionals, so start with a baseline assessment. Develop the vision and the strategy. And again, why is that important? And I'm contracting this to IT bought some stuff and they told us to use it. Developing the vision and strategy, hopefully, is by talking to people, not talking to the computer. Developing the strategy is talking to the people about their processes. If you talk to anybody in your company that does the PPAP submissions and spreadsheets, I was at an ASQ conference in Boston, and a kid came up to me, I don't know, anyhow, a young professional came up to me. And he said, if I can't get a better process and tool for doing all this stuff, I'm going to quit. It's that boring, it's that annoying. And when you look at generational differences, I had never thought of staying at 1.0 forever. And by the way, this is back to technology adoption, those laggards. If you're lagging and doing nothing, you're going to have people leave. I never really thought of the impact on turnover until he told that to me. Get the baseline, see where you're at. Talk to the people and what processes they want to improve. Do you have to improve everything? Of course not. What should you improve? Those things that your people are telling you that the processes are messed up or they're good, I just don't have access to the data, focus on what they're looking for, then yeah, we'll develop the necessary infrastructure. Leave that to IT. Quality professionals don't have to pick the technology stack or what it's doing. Yes, data governance is a big thing. I mean, I know that we want to be able to, for example, control personal data. I don't want people to have access to my personal data. So I'm not poo-pooing governance. I'm just saying in the old days of, I don't have that, you got to talk to accounting to get the scrap numbers. Those days are gone. And then implement the technologies and then build it. And I think whether you're an executive on today's call or a manager or an engineer going through it, no matter where you are in the infrastructure, hopefully this gets you a little educated on the subject matter and the things being discussed, and hopefully motivated you because the future is bright. There's a lot of opportunity for quality professionals as long as we are willing to change. I did mention to you, I am doing research on 4.0 and quality cost. If any of you are interested in that, I'd be happy to send that to you. All right, Doug, anybody got questions?
Yeah, we've been pretty busy here with questions. A number of people have been posting them.
Good.
So let's take a look at some of the questions people have asked. Okay. Kind of go back towards the beginning. You said that Six Sigma is an old quality approach. And what do you see as better practices in a low value, high value manufacturing environment?
Well, let me back up a little bit. I didn't want to, and I apologize if I did, say Six Sigma's dead, statistics are stupid, we don't need them anymore. What I tried to say was that's not on the top of the list of your executives, what's on their mind. So if they're worried about disruptive technologies, it might be a good idea if you want to still, if you're at 1.0 on statistics or Six Sigma or how we're doing it, apply it in that area. It's not that Six Sigma's dead. It's just not the thing that companies are spending a lot of money on to train a lot of people to get things done because the outcomes were unknown. And by the way, the outcomes were unknown except for a project. I mean, if somebody was good on a particular project, but from an overall profit and loss statement from an executive, I don't know. We spent, I'm making up numbers, 100,000 on it. I don't know if we saved money on it. So I'm sorry, I didn't want to say it was poo-poo and bad. I'm just saying if I was a quality professional in a current company, I would spend more time learning about quality 4.0 and how it can be applied and how you can talk to IT and executives than trying to go back and jam another Six Sigma project in front of them. My opinion only, as Doug said, not a reflection of QMD or ASQ.
Okay, that's good, John. It's just Six Sigma's been around a while. By the way, if you would like a copy of his white paper and the slides, email John directly. Okay, there's his email on the screen. It's short and simple, so take it down. So another question we had was, okay, what would be the motivation factors for a company to adopt Quality 4.0, especially for small and medium enterprises?
All right, I don't think the motivation varies by company size. I think it's the same. And if we think of this Quality 4.0 as talking to people about their processes and bringing new technology in, remember when Six Sigma came out, SPC software was new technology. Stat Matrix or any of this advanced, that was advanced technology. And it has been around for a long time. So what I'm encouraging you to do is to understand that this 4.0 environment, let's just do the one subject. What would you do if you had immediate access to all the data in your company? You can access anything you want. What would you like to know? Those conversations are extremely powerful. Well, I'd like to know this. Well, I'd like to know this. Now, if you get them past that and they're talking about technology, and oh, by the way, I don't want to type it, I want to talk to it, I want to ask it. So I think the value is the same regardless of company size. The size of the company has a lot to do with the technology adoption curve. Usually the bigger, they're not necessarily as innovative. Some big companies are, but in general, they're not. Small companies small companies will try things just to try it. One of the comments I've heard a lot is Small companies understand the difference between a one-way door and a two-way door when they're making decisions. A one-way door, by the way, I'm taking this from Jeff Bezos. A one-way door is when I walk through it, I can never get back. I mean, once I make that decision, I'm done. A two-way door is, hey, let's go in and see how it works and come back. If I don't like it, just come back. Small companies will take chances and do things a lot faster and a lot quicker just to try it. Bigger companies tend to think about it a long time. I'm not sure that answers the question, but hopefully it did.
Yeah, I think it's pretty good. Okay, here's a little bit more of a poser. How can quality professionals be aware of ethical standards that are not considered by AI? In other words, how can we trust AI tools?
Oh, that, all right. One of the things I probably should add a slide on this, but one of the things I want to make sure people understand is that, remember, artificial intelligence is is automating real intelligence. So how can I trust these AI tools? Well, I don't know. How do you trust the human decisions? I mean, so how do we do that? Well, in general, if we're going to bring a human into our company, we look at their education, what high school or college they went through, what they studied. Once we say, yeah, we want to interview, we interview them. We ask them questions. We see how they react, see how they behave. If you hire them, hopefully then you train them. Then you go through and say, this is how we do things, this is how it works. And then the last part of that is review. You periodically review them. The deployment of AI is exactly the same process. Somebody has to train them. Somebody has to take the tool to school. It's showing up with a blank slate that it doesn't know anything about what you're doing. So that's the education part. When we interview candidates, you're going to interview these tool sets. You're going to try it, see what they say, see what they think, see how it behaves. And then if you get past that, you can go, all right, well, let me train it. These are the things we need to do. And by the way, a lot of the training is based on watching what you do in the tool, like back to the Amazon app. The way they know they like that because you've been clicking on it. And then the last part is review. Just like a person, you review the tool. So my answer is when we get into conversations about AI, you can't leave the people part out of that conversation because people are going to create it, people are going to do it. That's my 2 cents.
Nice answer, John. Okay, here's a question about barriers. What do you do if employees, like production workers, are very resistant to using new technology, especially the older population? What if they question what you're doing and they balk at it?
Well, that'd be like putting in a robotic welding line and a 100% inspection system. The only thing that I've seen is work is go out and talk to the people. You can't beat that. It's human intervention. It's just getting them involved. People don't like change that doesn't give them a beneficial impact. So if they have no idea what you're doing or why you're doing it, of course they're going to fight it. But if you explain to them, this is what we're doing, this is what we're trying, here's how we can help, here's how it should benefit you. I don't think it's age that's restrictive. I think it's the lack of engaging in human intervention.
Very good, John. So other than not communicating, what other barriers, what's the next biggest barrier to implementing Quality 4.0?
Well, right after people is process. And, the frustration is I on that PPAP project I was mentioning with automotive, the question was, do we need to put automated workflow into the software. Now, by the way, my audience was not VPs of quality, not software companies, not IT people. It was practitioners that use spreadsheets every day. And I said, hey, do we need that? And one guy said, yeah, we got to have that and this and this.